What's up everybody, welcome back to Double T Gaming, and I got a ton of positive feedback on the warrior comparison video for Epoch versus Turtle. So today we're moving on to the Hunter class, which is one of the more requested follow-ups. After this one, I'll be taking a look at Shamans next, so stay tuned for that. But once again, thank you all for the feedback, likes, comments, and subscriptions on the recent videos. It's been really motivating. It makes me want to keep pushing this series and the channel itself even further. So before we dive in, let's just give a little bit of history on Hunters back in vanilla. And I think going forward for this little rewind segment about how the class played in original vanilla, it would be cool to bring in some other small WoW content creators who specialized in that class. So talking about the Hunter is someone who has played it since vanilla itself, and even up to today's current retail expansion, Calusius.
So before we dive in, let's just give a little bit of history on Hunters back in vanilla. Hunters were one of the best leveling classes in the entire game. You had your pet to tank for you, traps for control, and steady range damage, which made solo content feel way smoother than most classes. In raids though, Hunters weren't usually brought in to top the meters. Instead they were more of a utility slot, tossing up Hunter's Mark, providing True Shot aura, using Tranquilizing Shot on certain bosses, and of course being kings of pulling. In PvP, they could be absolutely nasty with traps and burst damage, but that infamous dead zone where your target was too close to shoot but too far to melee really held the class back. So in a way, Hunters were always strong, but they also had some pretty clear pain points in their design, and that's where both Project Epoch and Turtle WoW step in, but in two very different directions.
So now that you know the history about the Hunter, let's talk about Epoch and Turtle. Now just a quick blurb about what races can be a Hunter. In Turtle WoW, all races can play the Hunter class, including High Elves and Goblins. However, in Project Epoch, the only race that cannot be a Hunter is a Gnome. Now, I will say right off the bat that Hunters on Project Epoch are pretty much a carbon copy of the TBC version of the class, and there is nothing really wrong with that. The talent trees are almost identical, so there aren't really any major reworks happening there, and the TBC version of the Hunter, at least in my opinion, didn't really have that many major issues at all. And again, this is one of the ideas behind Epoch, is that it primarily sticks to the TBC class fantasy with a bit of wrath, gameplay, and polish mixed in for some specs. So this might have some folks question the Classic Plus aspect of Epoch, which again is okay. The definition of Classic Plus might be more open to interpretation when it comes to class design versus world design versus system design, but that is entirely too deep of a topic to cover right now. Let's get back to the Hunter. So yeah, no major reworks really with the talents, so I won't really be touching on them. It's a TBC Hunter in vanilla content, so it's almost like you're playing a TBC pre-patch Hunter. So you probably already know with Project Epoch you get the TBC talent tree, but you also get the 61 talent points in total. So every few levels you unlock one extra talent point, so it all adds up to the 61. That gives you combinations of specs that you can never do before in WoW. Instead, the big changes are with the baseline abilities, so here's the rundown. Aspect of the Pack is no longer a raid-wide passive aura that dazes anybody if they get hit. Instead, it's been reworked into a short sprint for your whole group. 40% movement speed for 8 seconds with no daze penalty. Aspect of the Viper has been added in, giving you mana regen based on your intellect every 5 seconds, pretty much exactly how it worked in TBC. Kill command is here, working again just like it did in other expansions. Steady shot is in as well, giving you a solid filler shot that does weapon damage plus a flat amount, and does even more damage if your target is dazed. Again, kind of like how it worked in other expansions. Disengage has been reworked from its vanilla version into its later version. Instead of reducing threat, it now sends you flying backwards and it's only usable in combat. You also get misdirection and snake trap, which are straight out of TBC. The ammo adjustments are big though, so it stacks up to 250 now instead of 200s, and quivers all hold 2 more stacks, and any crafted or purchased ammo automatically comes with that extra plus 50, so you're not actually spending more gold or more materials overall to craft. It's going to be the same amount. For pets, they use the Wrath of the Lich King pet talent tree, which actually makes them feel a lot closer to the beast training system from TBC, just with a more polished interface. The dead zone is completely gone, so your attacks now swap seamlessly between ranged and melee, and all of your Hunter buffs are now raid-wide, so True Shot aura, Aspect of the Wild, the reworked Aspect of the Pack, and even Ferocious Inspiration all go toward the entire braid. So again, I think the best way to put a Hunter in Epoch is that you're permanently in the pre-patch version of the game, which in my opinion, the pre-patch version of a class is usually the most fun version of that class for that expansion. Again, nothing wrong with that. This is all up to how you interpret what Classic Plus really is, which I think I'll do a video about that in the future. Now let's talk about Turtle WoW Hunters. Turtle WoW Hunters are a completely different direction. Instead of importing the TBC version of Hunters, they've gone for a full reimagining of what the class could have been in vanilla if Blizzard had kept pushing the hybrid ideas. When it comes to Beast Mastery, it's still about the bond between you and your pet, but with a few twists. The first couple rows are mostly the same, except improved aspect of the monkey is gone. Instead, you've got improved primal aspects. which makes Monkey give more dodge, and if you're running the new aspect of the Wolf, which I'll talk about in a minute, it gives it a leech effect on your attacks. Bestial Swiftness has been replaced with something totally new called Coordinated Assault. Basically, when you use Arcane Shot, Steady Shot, or even a Raptor Strike, your pet's next attack within 6 seconds will hit like a truck for 30% of its attack power, and this can happen every 3 seconds, which is a pretty huge deal for overall pet damage. Bestial Discipline has also been shifted up in the tree to make it more accessible. Later on, you'll see a kill command added in here just like it was in later expansions, also with a new talent called Bestial Precision, which gives your pet more physical and spell hit. Spear Bond also got reworked, so not only does it heal faster, ticking every 5 seconds instead of every 10 seconds like it did in vanilla, it now increases your pet's melee attack power based on your own range attack power, which is a really nice touch. And the biggest, most recent change for Beast Mastery Hunter is that the capstone ability Bestial Wrath is gone, and instead you've got a new ability called Baited. Baited is an instant shot that deals 125% weapon damage and attaches a bait debuff to the target. That target now takes increased damage from your pet, and your pet's attacks also generate more focus. This can only be used after your pet critically strikes a target and can only trigger once every 2 seconds for the focus generation. It's a wholly different direction than the old red pet button, but I guess it could be considered creative, but I think a lot of people are upset about this change. It kind of gives BM Hunter just another shot to click versus something special to do with your actual pet. Let's talk about Marksmanship. Marksmanship on Turtle is a little bit more fast-paced and has some new toys to play with. So improved Serpent Sting and improved Hunter's Mark have swapped places completely on the tree. Aim Shot is now a baseline ability at level 20, so in its old spot you got Steady Shot instead. Improved Scorpion Sting has been moved up and tweaked a bit, and improved Arcane Shot has been turned into Swift Shot, which lowers the cooldown of both Arcane and Am Shot. A new talent shows up in row 5 called Piercing Shots, and this makes your crits from Multi-Shot, Steady Shot, and Aim Shot also apply a bleed. There's also an improved Steady Shot talent that just makes the filler ability even stronger. Deeper in the tree you get Endless Quiver, which gives all of your shots a chance to fire off one extra one for free at no ammo cost. And this is just a normal auto shot type damage. Kind of feels like how Shaman Mastery mechanic worked in later expansions, but with a Hunter twist. And of course, the capstone ability here is still going to be True Shot Aura. Okay, now for survival, this is where Turtle really went wild, because it's basically been completely redesigned into a melee spec. So I'm pretty much going to go through every single talent on this tree. Right at the start, you've got Improved Slang, which takes the old vanilla bonus damage for certain creature type talents and just rolls them all into one. Resourcefulness lowers the mana cost of your traps, and Swift Reflexes give you more parry and more attack speed. Entrapment makes your traps able to root. There's also a talent called Savage Strikes, which makes your offhand attacks and melee abilities hit harder and crit more. Improved Wing Clip is still there, letting it root sometimes. Planning makes your traps last longer if they don't trigger right away, and Survivalist is just a straight health increase. Now you also get a new melee ability called Carve, which hits up to 5 targets in a cone in front of you, but it does share a cooldown with Multi-Shot. Vanilla's old Deterrent is in here too, giving dodge and parry for defense. Stinging Nettle has been added, which makes your Mongoose Bite and Fire Traps apply Serpent Sting automatically for a shorter duration, and this version of Serpent Sting also ignores immunities. Sure-Footed is a simple increase to your hit chance and resistance to slows, and Improved Feign Death just reduces the chance that FD gets resisted. Killer Instinct gives crit chance to all attacks and increases melee crit damage, while Trap Mastery buffs your frost traps, boosts fire trap damage, and reduces its cooldown. Another new melee talent is Lacerate, which is linked into Carve. It's a bleed that deals 35% of your AP as damage and then another 20% over 8 seconds. But here's the cool part about this. If you use it on the side of your target, it hits 10% harder and the bleeds tick out twice as fast, which is a super creative design. Vicious Strikes is also down here, and that lowers the cooldowns on Raptor Strike and Mongoose Bite. Lightning Reflex is just basically a boost to your agility and you get more melee attack power, which scales off of it. And the capstone here is the Untamed Trapper, which makes your fire traps cheaper, scale them with your melee AP, and also you can now use your traps in combat. So survival has basically become the melee hunter spec Blizzard teased way back in the day, but never really delivered on until later expansions. So let's look at the baseline Turtle changes. On top of the talent trees, Turtle Hunters have a bunch of baseline updates. They get 2 extra stable slots for pets. Aim Shot again is baseline at level 20. You have a new aspect for melee called Aspect of the Wolf, which gives you melee attack power, which is kind of just the melee version of Hawk. Scorpion Sting has been condensed down into 1 rank. It's 10% of your mana cost and lowers both attack speed and physical damage. Viper Sting also got toned down a bit. Wing Clip now has a cooldown of 6 seconds, but it does way more damage since it scales with weapon damage. Mongoose Bite no longer requires a dodge, you can just use it freely, and it does 60% weapon damage plus a flat amount. Then there are tons of pet updates and new families like tall striders that can heal, crocolists that have like a death roll execute, and even crabs have their own bubble. I won't go all into the pets because there's just so many different things, so I'll leave that into the forums of Turtle in the description. And also a recent addition is that aspects now sit on their own aura bar, where the druid forms also sit, which makes it feel a lot smoother, doesn't take up as many keybinds. So let me take a deep breath after that one because that was a lot. There are a lot of changes for survival and hunters in general on Turtle. So if we step back, here's the overall takeaway, or at least my opinion about it. On Project Epoch, hunters feel like you're kind of playing the TBC version of the class inside of vanilla gameplay. It's familiar, it's polished, it's tuned, and it's mostly about giving you the TBC toolkit without really reinventing the wheel. On Turtle WoW, hunters have been heavily reimagined. Beast Mastery and Marksmanship get creative new twists, but survival especially has been rebuilt into a fully flushed out melee spec. Even the baseline kit has been shifted to open up new playstyles. Both approaches work and make Hunter way stronger than they were and more fun than they were in vanilla. Again, Epoch leans on the proven TBC design, while Turtle uses Hunters as a playground for more Classic Plus experimentation. So that kind of wraps up my Hunter comparison between Epoch and Turtle WoW. Both approaches work, and both make Hunters way stronger and way more fun than they were in vanilla. It's kind of just a different strokes for different folks kind of thing. Epoch leans on the proven TBC design with a little bit of Wrath of the Lich King gameplay in there, while Turtle uses Hunters as a playground for a more Classic Plus reimagining experimentation. Nothing wrong with either, it's just which direction do you want to play, because again, both of these servers being live right now, and the fact that we're talking about it the way we are, I think is great for the game itself. But that wraps up the Hunter comparison between Project Epoch and Turtle WoW. Once again, thank you all for the huge support on the Warrior video. It's been awesome seeing the feedback. If you enjoyed this one, let me know in the comments and tell me which class you'd like to see after Shamans. And after going back to what I mentioned earlier in the video, if you are a small WoW content creator and specialize in a particular vanilla class that I haven't covered, drop it in the comments and I may reach out. I think it'll be a cool way for all of us to kind of grow together in these types of videos. And with that, shout out to Calusius who lent a hand. He has been posting mainly WoW guides on YouTube for years now that are all super high quality, so if you want to check him out, his link will be in the description. But make sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It helps a ton, makes me motivated to keep this series and the channel going. Thank you guys for watching. This is Double T Gaming, and I'll see you guys in the next video.